All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'm going to give all praises, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Hakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone. Peace and salutations to the Achaeum and to the elect that are scattered throughout the four corners of this earth, pushing the truth and faith and sincerity. I'm the Brother Shema Allah from the GMS Houston camp. And this lesson is going to be another Stoic lesson, all right? And this quote actually comes from a book, all right, that I have. It's called The Daily Stoic, all right, 366 Meditations on Wisdom, Perseverance, and the Art of Living, all right. And it's supposed to have basically, a quote, for each day, of the year. But I kind of just bounce around, until I see something that, sticks out, unto me. All right. But as you can see, it says be ruthless to the things that don't matter. Now let's just read it. All right. It says, how many have laid waste to your life when you weren't aware of what you were losing? How much was wasted in pointless grief, foolish joy, greedy desire, and social amusements? How little of your own was left to you? You will realize you're dying before your time, right? And it says that this quote is by Seneca. So the way that this book works, right, it gives you the quote, and then the person basically kind of like, expounds, on the quote, kind of like bringing it, kind of like dumbing it down, to explain exactly, what's being said. But for me, to take it a step further, I like to, put all of this, in ChatGPT, to basically explain it, even more in an even more simple way. All right, but like I said, we're just gonna read this first. All right, but it says one of the hardest things to do in life is to say no to invitations, to requests, to obligations, to the stuff that everyone else, is doing. All right, so basically, being protective, all right, with your time. Learning how to say no, to particular things and particular events and particular things, that may be going on, right, that you cannot, be involved in at that time. Okay? Whether it's co-workers, hey, man, we finna go grab some drinks and this and that, maybe it may be like a little work meeting or work outing, the co-workers all go out, but you just really ain't feeling it. You probably, you got some better things to do at the house, something, you probably need to work on. You probably need to study, probably need to get some lessons in, and, it could be anything, right? Or you probably, have been drinking too much, and you're trying to hold back. You gotta learn how to say no. All right? But it says, and that's not just dealing with coworkers. It's even dealing with brothers. Like you may have felt like you've been drinking too much, and brothers may be pouring up, and a brother offer you something. Hey, now I'm good, right? You gotta learn, how to hold back. Right? When you feel in your spirit that you should be holding back. Okay. But it says, even harder is saying no to certain time-consuming emotions like anger, excitement, distraction, obsession, lust, right? None of these impulses feel like a big deal by itself, but run amok, they become a commitment like anything else, right? So if you don't get these things in check or under control, right, basically they control you, they control your life, and, your life will basically starts going in the direction that you don't want it to be going in. Okay? So certain emotions, that you feel, you gotta say no to that as well. As far as rebuking certain things, rebuking certain thoughts, right, that you may have. Okay? It says obsession, lust, right? So you can be, lusting over particular things, right? And you gotta get yourself under control, because lust is not bad. But what are you lusting after? Okay? And then lusting after particular things and not controlling that lust, all right? Meaning that you basically engaging in whatever activity it is or whatever it may be you're gonna engage in it, overly indulge in it, and overly indulging in anything is bad. All right, and you may end up destroying yourself or ended up in a bad situation. All right, so you gotta learn how to say no to particular things that the flesh wants to do, right? But you can't do it at that moment. All right, you may need to fall back and lock into to more spiritual things, because you don't want to just be sowing to the flesh. Because if you sow to that, then what the scriptures speak about, you shall reap corruption, right? And it's a balance to things, right? But you got to find that balance. All right, but it says, if you're not careful, these are precisely the impositions that will overwhelm and consume your life. Do you ever wonder how you can get some of your time back, how you can feel less busy? All right, start by learning the power of no. I said, no, thank you. And no, I'm not going to get caught up in that. And no, I just can't right now. It may hurt some feelings. It may turn people off. It may take some hard work. But the more you say no to the things that don't matter, the more you can say yes to the things that do. This will let you live and enjoy your life, the life that you want. All right? And we know that our life is hid in Yahushua. Our life is this truth. All right? Even though we have a life outside of this is the priority. Okay? So this is the main focus. All right? You just got to know, all right, when to lock in and when to say no to particular things. Okay? Like I said, if you feel like you need to study. Need to study more, right? Brothers may be going out somewhere. Maybe, I'll just fall back this time, All right. You notice that you've been, focused on women too much, right? You need to say no to that. No to those emotions. Rebuke those emotions. Get yourself in check, right? Nah, I need to, I need to fall back on this, to lean more into my studies. All right. I need to go over these breakdowns. All right, or like you said, I've been eating, not my best, so I need to work on that. All right, somebody offer you a burger, or something like that. Nah, I'm good. I ain't, It's just by saying no to particular things, and just taking control, of your emotions and also of your time. Okay. Because at the end of the day, this is, our salvation. We are working, to get saved. We putting in that work, on our own, right? Working for our own salvation. Nobody else can do that for us. So we got to position ourselves, in the best, possible way, as possible, right? Whichever is best, for us. Okay. We still gotta abide by particular rules, because we are a part of something that's that is bigger than just us. All right, but we still have to be mindful of the things that we getting into and the things that we are allowing and the emotions that we are allowing into our mind. Right, how we living out here in this world, the things that we're getting consumed in. All right, you gotta have that self-control and you gotta have that balance. All right. But when you go to ChatGPT, right, this is what it says. It says, this means stop wasting your time and energy on things that don't add real value, right, to your life, right? And it could be a lot of things in this world, because maybe you one of those brothers that just don't like going out, and that's fine. All right, you ain't got to. All right. Or it's just a lot of BS in this world, regardless. But like I said, you got brothers that that do go out, the brothers that do enjoy things. All right, but you don't necessarily have to, because you may feel like those things are just irrelevant. All right. But it says, learn to say no to distractions, people pleasing, temptations, emotional impulses. All right, anger, lust, greed. It says the more you say no to what doesn't matter, the more you free up to focus on what does, right? Like spiritual things, right? Like growth, right? Wisdom, purpose, and peace of mind, right? It says being ruthless here doesn't mean being mean. It means being strict and serious with your priorities, you see? So being strict and serious with your priorities. All right, so you got to follow a strict way, of life, right? And this truth is your priority. All right, so if anything doesn't align, all right, with the goal, of achieving the kingdom, or like it gets in the way, I should say. If it gets in the way, then you avoid it. All right, you don't indulge or get into it. Okay, but it says many people waste life on foolish things like drama, partying, greed, and distraction. Saying no to unnecessary emotions and pressures is hard but powerful. Distractions become commitments if you don't stop them early. Saying no frees your life for things that really matter: peace, purpose, wisdom, and joy. All right, and in the scriptures, you had something called the Epicureans, which they lived for the pleasures of life, right? For the to feel certain things, to feel the joy and the happiness, right? And the materialistic things. They live for pleasure, right? Then you had the Stoics, right, which was separate from them and different from them, all right? And they basically believe, that hard times, and tribulation and all of this, forms man and makes them better, right? And basically changing your viewpoint of how you looking at certain things when you going through tribulation, when you going through hell, right? And it's just a whole mindset, right? They're not looking for pleasure, because they will believe that pleasure will make you weak. Too much pleasure will. All right, but that was the Epicureans. Okay, and you don't want to be an Epicurean. All right, you want to be a Stoic, right? Because even our Lord was a Stoic. All right, you want to be able to know when you're getting distracted, or when you're doing too much of something, or when you need to fall back from something. All right, or when you just need to stop doing something completely. All right, that's why the scripture says, examine yourselves, whether you be in the faith. All right, because each one of us is going to be different. All right, you need to see, what's bad, right, and this truth for you, what you need to avoid, all right, what you can't do. All right, you need to learn yourself. All right, and then it gives some scriptures. All right, and that's just the way I kind of set it up to kind of like break it down, and then give some scriptures. I just kind of like sift through the scriptures and see which ones I want to add. But yeah, let's see. You got Ephesians 5:15 says, see then that you walk circumspectly, right, not as fools, but as wise, all right, redeeming the time, because the days are evil. All right, so you got to redeem the time, knowing what times that we're in. So knowing that we got to move a particular way, right, watching our surroundings, even watching us, right, watching our lives. Pay attention to what's going on in your life, all right. Pay attention to when things are going wrong, or things ain't going right. Pay attention to why, what's happening, what got me here. All right. Have I been drinking too much? All right. Or have I been doing this too much? All right. You got to analyze certain areas of your life. All right. You can't just be living and carelessly. Right. It's like saying in The Godfather, women and children can be careless, but men can't be careless. All right. So you need to watch, for everything. All right. He said, wherefore be ye not unwise, but understanding, what the will of the Lord is. Okay, so that's important. All right, not being unwise, but understanding what the will of the Lord is. All right, and you learn that in this truth. When you come into this and you really, lock in and focus into these scriptures. All right, and getting the understanding. All right, then and once you figure that out, you got to keep that on your mind. All the time. believe the other one is Proverbs 4:26. 25 says, let thine eyes look right on, and let thine eyelids look straight before thee. Ponder the path of thy feet, and let all thy ways be established. Right? Ponder the path. Ponder basically means to like think. Right? Palas. All right, in the Hebrew, or it could be palasa, whatever. All right, to weigh, to make level, balance, to weigh out. Right. So everything in your life, right, is supposed to be getting pondered. Every action that you take, right, every decision that you make, all right, it needs to be weighed out, weighed in the balance. All right. Now, if I do this, what's going to happen next? All right. Will this hurt the ministry? All right. Will this hurt me in any particular way? Is it wise to do this? All right. Have I been doing too much of this? Do I need to chill out? All right. Now I've been going out a lot. Maybe I just need to go home. All right. Be with my family. Whatever the situation may be. You know what I'm saying? All right. You just need to know this for yourself. All right, because you don't want to get into the spirit of Babylon, and because this shit can pull you in, and before you know it, man, you just out here. All right, you bugging out. All right, you got too much of the world into you. Less of the the spirit of Yahweh Shem Yahushai. All right, that's why you gotta have that. You gotta have that balance. You gotta pay attention to yourself. All right. Now, let me see if I can find this scripture. Sirach, I think it's 37. Let's see. Yeah, Sirach 37:27. My son, prove thy soul in thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it. Right? So it says, prove your life and see what's evil for it. So you're gonna stumble across certain things and make certain decisions like, damn, man, this really affected me in a bad way. Or damn, man, I did too much of this, and now you kind of like in a terrible situation. So now like, damn, I can't be doing that. But you got to pay attention and know, like, damn, I can't do this anymore, or I'm going to end up in this situation again. All right? So you got to analyze these particular things, and you got to stay away from it. It's certain things you just cannot do. All right? And you may see another brother doing it. All right? But you can't do it. And that's fine. You need to learn you. All right? It ain't about following nobody else or trying to be like nobody else. All right? This is our own walk. Okay? It said, for all things are not profitable for all men, neither had every soul pleasure in everything. Okay? So it could be certain things that brothers are getting into, and it might not be good for you. You have to learn how to say no. You don't just be trying to follow the crowd, or you just want to be cool. You want brothers to like. Brothers are going to like you, bro. Brothers still going to like you. All right? This is not the world. All right? When you don't go, oh, this nigga lame, man. This nigga, man, It ain't like that, bro. All right? Or it shouldn't be like that. Because a true brother wouldn't do that. All right? But let's see. I think there's one more I got. Sirach 18. Let me see. Right. Sirach 18:30. Go not after thy lusts, but refrain thyself from thine appetites. If thou givest thy soul the desires that please us, she will make thee a laughingstock to thy enemies that malign thee. All right. So it said, go not after thy lust. So, or basically, you're gonna be ashamed. You're gonna get embarrassed, right? If you don't keep yourself in check. All right. Because if you just let this flesh just run wild, right? Things are going to look very bad for you. Any one of us. Okay? So what Paul spoke about, I keep under my body. Right? Meaning he keep himself in subjection. All right? And we gotta do that to ourselves. Because we ain't got nobody around us to be telling us, hey man, you need to be doing this, you need to be doing that. All right? That's where discipline comes in. All right? You gotta be disciplined. Okay? Doing the things that you know you should be doing even when you don't feel like it. Right? That's what discipline is. Okay? But yeah, that was the lesson. Dad, I'm gonna say shalom.